Hello there folks, Sam's Trains here and welcome back to the Railway and welcome again to another special video. So yeah, I know I seem to be having a lot of these special videos recently, but this one really is a very unique model that I've got to review today. And it's down on the layout already actually, just for a little change, and I'm going to drive it in for you right now. So yep, here it is. There we go. Hopefully you can see it there then. This is a very, very interesting model. It is of course based on the sort of Triang Princess locomotive, but it's actually a Turbomotive. And I'm going to talk to you about what that is and what that means if you don't already know in just a second. But I'm just going to grab this off the layout to show it to you in a little bit more detail. So here it is then, the Turbomotive running number 6202, and as you can probably guess, this is not something you could have bought, you know, back in the Triang era. And somebody's actually taken an existing Triang locomotive and by hand converted this into a Turbomotive. So actually I think they've done a really, really good job, and I found this one on eBay for, I think it was about £50, so I thought, you know, I'd really like to get something like this because it is pretty unique. So yeah, it's very, very impressive, and as you can see they have done a really good job on this. There you go, you can see it close up there. So yeah, I'm going to look at this in a little more detail in just a second, but first of all, here's a little bit of information about the history of Turbomotive and you know, what it was all about. So it was actually just a single locomotive. There was only ever one built, and it was designed by William Stanier for purely experimentation purposes. So rather than conventional cylinders, this locomotive ran on turbines, which basically eliminated the need for a valve event system, as a steady stream of steam was all that was required to produce motion. This being the case, a separate but smaller turbine was necessary if the locomotive wanted to reverse. This locomotive was reasonably successful as far as performance was concerned, but since so much time and money had already been invested in conventional cylinder technology, nothing really ever came of the sort of turbine-powered locomotives, and similarly very high maintenance costs were also a major drawback. And as a result, Turbomotive was sadly just rebuilt back into a regular Princess locomotive, and then it became 46202 Princess Anne. But very soon after that, the locomotive was involved in a horrible accident where it was destroyed and it was deemed irreparable. It wasn't worth repairing it. So yes, it didn't really last very long after that. Okay, so time to look at this locomotive in a little bit more detail then. So if we look round the front at the smokebox door, you can just about see there where it's been moulded on the old running number, i.e. the original running number that this locomotive had before somebody very cleverly converted this into a Turbomotive. So you can see the number there, just about, you can read it, 46201, which I believe is Princess Elizabeth. So that, I think, is what this locomotive used to be. But obviously it doesn't really resemble a Princess class very much anymore. Most obviously because it's got these large sort of, I don't know what you'd call them, they look a little bit like tanks, don't they? But I presume they aren't tanks, because the tender presumably would still have held the water. But yeah, as you can see, that is quite a major change to the shape of the locomotive, isn't it? And of course, secondly, the biggest change is that all the valve gear, of course, has been completely removed, and all you've got now is a set of linkage like this. So yes, I believe that was quite prototypical of the Turbomotive. Also, you've got quite, I don't know, it's quite interesting lining, isn't it? It's a little bit reminiscent of the Blood and Custard coaches, because that's the colour of the lining here. But yeah, I've never really seen that on another locomotive, which is quite interesting. It's been applied quite nicely in places, you know, somewhere else it's a little bit messy, but you know, this is a hand-painted job. This isn't something that's done in a factory. The Firebox seems to be pretty similar though to the original Triang Princess class. It seems to have retained most of its detail, so I assume that has just been left as it was. But yes, as you can see, it's still got the safety valves there, and the whistle there has been painted into gold, which is very nice. On the side of the cab you've got a new running number, which is 6202 of course, which was the number of Turbomotive I think. And similarly that has got the lining around it there, this sort of blood and custard lining, and also a glazed window, which of course these models never really had. And a feature that I really like about this model is the fact that the inside of the cab has been painted. Of course it isn't up to Bachmann standards or anything like that, but you know, just picking out the detail in the cab there makes such a difference. And as you can see also, the inside of the cab has been painted into that cream colour, which makes a massive difference, I think. It really, really does. Okay, moving on to the tender then. The tender is more similar to the original Triang tender, though of course this livery is quite unusual. It has still got this blood and custard lining on it, as you can see, with the LMS applied to the side there, but also you have got real coal, I would say. I think that does look like crushed coal, and as you can see it's very realistically spilt over onto the back half of the tender, which is really very nice. The underframe detail is just about the same as a normal Triang locomotive, and the sort of buffer assembly and buffer beam is all pretty similar. But generally, the level of detail on this thing is pretty much comparable to a standard Triang locomotive, and as a result I really haven't got any complaints about this. I think it is just lovely, and although it isn't perfect, it is a very, very interesting and unique model, which makes me appreciate it quite a lot. You'll notice also that it has got these sort of old style Triang wheels, but these have been taken down so that it works just fine on modern track. So I think that's just about it. Hopefully you've had a good close look at that. I'm really excited about this one because it is so unusual. So yeah, let's get this down onto the layout then and give it a try and see how it runs. So there she is then, Stania's Turbomotive down onto the track, and she's about to couple up to these coaches. Now, I'm not going to say anything about these coaches other than that it's like a night train because it's made up mostly of sleeping cars, but yes, here's a challenge for you experts. See if you can tell me whether or not Turbomotive could have pulled those in real life, and if so, why. So yeah, there's a little trick question for you. On the middle line then, there is a similar locomotive. That one's Princess Royal with some LMS coaches, and that's basically what this Turbomotive would have looked like before it was converted into Turbomotive. And then on the very inner line there are two of the Dealey 3Fs. Both of them have the same running number, so yeah, a little bit of double vision going on here. So yeah, both number 3775, and then they've got a small rake of blood and custard coaches that they're going to pull between them. Elsewhere on the layout then, there are 7 other classic Triang locomotives, so have fun spotting those. But for now, let's get this Turbomotive tested at slow speed. So yeah, let's give this one a try. I'm not sure what direction it's set in, so we'll see. Oh, it's going back. Okay, so as you can see, it does sort of jump into life a little bit, just like most of the Triang stuff does. I'll try and be gentle. Oh, forwards it's actually a little bit better. That's actually pretty decent, isn't it, for a slow speed? I'm really, really not disappointed about that. Okay, and reverse. In fact, let's send her up to the coaches now. There we go. Let's move her into shot. Okay, there she is. She's coupled up to the night train then with all its sleeping cars. Okay, let's get her running then. Forwards we go. And off she goes. Okay, and let's get the real princess up and running then. Here we go with the Princess Royal. And finally the 2 Triang Dealey 3Fs then. Here they go. Together as a double header. Alright, enjoy the running session then. Here we go. There we go, there's that princess. You can see some snow on the track now. I'm going to have to go and fix that. And there goes Turbomotive. Very, very powerful, as you can see. That's quite a reasonable amount of coaches for one of those, isn't it? Wow, look at that. Yep, they are good runners, aren't they, these Triang locos? I've always loved them. Oh, that was lucky. 3Fs just coming along at the same time. Well, at the right time. Also running very nicely. Very good they are. So now for my ratings then on the Triang Turbomotive. First of all, detail 9 out of 10. I think the detail generally does much better than normal Triang models, so yeah, pretty high marks there. Performance 8 out of 10. It's had the wheels taken down, so it does do very well on modern track. And of course, as always with the XO4 motor, always a good performance there. Character 8 out of 10. It does have a lot of character, of course. It might not be a perfectly accurate representation of Turbomotive, but it's certainly not far off. Build quality 9 out of 10, as with most Triang stuff. It is built very well, and of course this one is no exception. Value £50 for a very unique item, or completely unique item. I think that is a very good price, so 10 out of 10 there, which leaves us with overall 8 out of 10. To me, a very, very interesting model. Here comes the gorgeous princess. You'll have to let me know which of these is your favourite, by the way. I must admit, I do love the novelty factor of the Turbomotive. Here she comes now. Just because it's so unusual. Tricky to decide. But it's certainly a very capable loco, isn't it? Very good at slow speeds and manages all these coaches just fine. And she definitely isn't struggling either, which is always a very good sign. There we go. And not to forget these little double headers, of course. One of those is the gloss finish, as you can see, that's the one at the back. And the one at the front has the matte finish, which is actually the one I prefer. And there's the princesses again. Well, almost princess, this one. Former princess, I should say. Yeah, very, very happy runners. Okay, well I think that's just about it. Thank you very much then everybody, I do hope you enjoyed watching today. Yeah, a bit different today of course, the Turbomotive, very interesting for me actually, and a very exciting purchase too. So if you did like it, please feel free to leave a like or even a comment on the video, because I do love it when you get in touch. And also don't forget, you can check out the Facebook and Twitter pages, and they're at facebook.com/samstrains or twitter.com/samstrains. It would be lovely to see you there, but for now, once again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon. Cheers everybody.